G'day guys, how we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. Was it Saturday, February 1st, 2025, and she's going to be a warm one today. I can just feel it in the air. Yeah, it's very warm. It's only about 8 o'clock in the morning here, but yeah, as I said, it's going to be very, very warm. The boxing, the weigh-in for Benavides and Morell took place this morning, Australian time, and both guys made weight, so we have a fight. And what a fight it's going to be. I think it's going to be a ripper. I think both guys, I think they weighed about the same, 174.5, something like that. But and the undercard as well. But no, it's going to be a ripper. Geez, the press conference got very spicy, didn't it? You just got to wonder in instances like that, does it affect the mindset of both fighters? I understand we get it in all fight, well, most of those big fights, there's the push and shove and the insults, but this one seems to have gotten really personal, and I don't know really why. I don't know whether Morell, I mean, he's a very experienced amateur, only dozen fights or something as a pro, but I understand maybe he's doing it to, just to maybe get his little bit of respect, or I don't know, maybe it's a bit of inexperience at the level, the way he's been carrying on. But David Benavidez, well, whatever Morell's done, he's really got under Benavidez' skin, hasn't he? Because lots of, what they call them, superlatives thrown around at the press conference yesterday. And yeah, and to the point where, and I don't like to say it, the manager, what was his name, Cubis or whatever his name is, Morell's manager, I don't like to see it. Getting into a slanging match with David Benavidez, I mean, what's the point? I mean, I understand these days, and maybe it's been that way forever, where, you get the slanging match either way. I get that, and in certain instances where the insults fly, but when you get the actual manager up there and they've almost got to be separated, I just think it's ridiculous. That Cubis, the manager, he should be embarrassed. He really should. And I'm not quite sure exactly what was being said. I mean, there's lots of things about money and opponents and all this sort of stuff, but I just think when it comes to that, I think in that instance, you see, actually yesterday in that press conference, you saw the officials are sort of mingling around, sort of overseeing things, and that's great. But I think when it comes to a point like that, where you've got a manager or a trainer or whoever that might be, a team member that is getting as involved as they were yesterday, I think the officials have just got to step in and say, look, you go, well, to the non-fighter, go sit down, all right? If you're going to be up here and you're going to carry on like that, get off the podium. Again, I understand with the fighters, they go either way, and I think sometimes the promoters actually build it up, don't they? They want the guys to do that. You can almost see the smirk on the faces of some of the officials or the promoters, whoever it might be. I think they welcome it, and I think boxing fans have come to expect it. But when it comes to trainers and managers and all that sort of stuff, I just think the officials should step in and say, hey, go sit down if you're going to act like a peanut. Yeah, I mean, each to their own, I suppose, but I just don't think it looks good. I don't think it looks good at all. David Benavides is an experienced campaigner, but as I said, even he has been just a little bit rattled about the whole thing. And let's see if it transpires tomorrow that we get the fight that we think we're going to get. As I said, Morell's an inexperienced pro, hasn't really fought anyone of note as a pro, but I think he had 140 amateur fights or something. A Cuban, they can fight. As simple as that. David Benavides, interesting to see how he goes in a big fight at 175, although I suppose the same can be said about Morell, can't it? Because he's gone up from 168 as well. Come here, buddy. But yeah, no, I think it should be a good fight. The undercard also as well, what was it, Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton. I think that'll be a good one. Of course, Stephen Fulton holds a win over Figueroa. I've got a feeling, called a gut feeling maybe, that Figueroa might get his time in the sun tomorrow. I reckon he might beat Steve Fulton in the rematch. I think it'll still be a really good fight, but I think that Figueroa might have just advanced enough that he has Stephen Fulton's measure. Fulton, of course, is going up in weight too from 122, so interesting to see how he goes. But yeah, that should be a good one. What was the other one that was on the card? Isaac Cruz and Angel Fierro. Now that'll be a very entertaining fight. Both guys really like to throw down. Cruz again actually, was it, to backtrack, I don't think Figueroa and Fulton have gone up. They must have, because Fulton fought at 122 against Inouye. Sorry, I was just sort of going around in my head there. But yeah, Isaac Cruz, I think he's going up to featherweight as well to fight Angel Fierro. Now that's going to be for, it's called the Aztec belt. And normally I hate the extra belts and I hate the novelty belts and all that sort of stuff, but I don't mind this one. They're not pretending it's a world title or anything like that. It's for a belt in honor of Israel Vasquez. And if you're not familiar with Vasquez, one of those ultimate Mexican warriors over the journey, had those 4 unbelievable fights with Rafael Marquez. One of those fights I was fortunate enough to be at, and just a great fighter. While maybe great is maybe an overstatement. I mean, it gets thrown around a fair bit, doesn't it, these days? But as far as being a great warrior, someone that would just turn up and give his all every single fight, I think it's a good one. And the belt itself looks fantastic. So yeah, it's called the Aztec belt, and the winner of that fight, I think it's awarded to 2 Mexican fighters. I think that they just choose. So no, I think it's a good gesture, and whoever gets that will have a nice little belt in the showcase. And I remember when we went to Vegas back in 2017 with the Maloney boys. I think I've told this story anyway, but I'll quickly tell it again. When we went through the MGM Grand foyer before the Canelo and Golovkin fight, and just by chance we ran into a guy holding the special belt they fought for. Now I can't remember what belt they actually fought for, to be honest, but they were taking some pictures of the belt. And this girl or lady or whatever was holding, I think it was a lady holding the belt, and we just happened to run into them, and we got photos and videos and all that sort of stuff, and it was a beautiful belt as well. So that was a bit of a thrill. But yeah, I think it's a good gesture, and as I said, I don't mind these one-off belts as long as they mean something. WBC seems to be the only one that does it, but maybe you will find now that Turki Al-Sheikh is involved, maybe he will start with some different belts. Now he's got the Ring magazine and all that sort of stuff. So I think it would be good, like if they have if it's an undisputed champion, maybe there could be a special belt that all the sanctioning bodies sort of chip in for, and they just have one undisputed belt. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? The only problem is that not many fighters either win the unified belt or hang on to those belts for an extended amount of time. But I think that would be a really good gesture. And I don't know how well the sanctioning bodies actually get along with each other these days, but imagine if there was an actual world championship belt. Doesn't say WBC, WBA, WBO or IBF, it just says world heavyweight champion or world middleweight champion, and it's got maybe a little bit of all those belts on that particular belt. I don't know, easier said than done, because it's never easy getting them all to agree on things, isn't it? So now the other thing I did see, actually I'll give my predictions for the fight in the morning. I'll do that before the card actually starts. I'll go through and give my predictions and all that. Even though I've just said that Figueroa will beat Fulton, I'll go through the Benavides and Morell fight in a little bit more detail tomorrow morning. But I did see our old mate Tassie Brown has got a show in Tasmania. Now, what was the actual date? I've just forgotten. When was it? It's in Tasmania anyway. The reason I'm bringing it up is that it's a charity event, and Anthony the Man Mundine is back, and what a coup that is to get Anthony Mundine on the card. So he's going to be doing an exhibition down there to raise funds for cancer. So all the best to everyone concerned in that event. But the reason I sort of bring up Anthony Mundine, not just the fact he's having the exhibition and getting back in there, but he's actually bought the rights to bare knuckle fighting here in Australia. And that's sort of, I think, what did he say yesterday? I think it's legal in Victoria and Queensland, but he's applying to get it made legal in New South Wales, because obviously that's where he's from. That's probably where he wants to do the majority of his shows. Now, I don't know whether you've seen the bare knuckle boxing, but now call me old-fashioned, call me whatever you will, but I am not a fan of bare knuckle boxing. I'm a fan of the fighters, as always. I'm a fan of the fighters, and I have full respect for those guys and girls. Probably more so than I have for even boxers and MMA fighters, because they get in there and they have nothing. They have bandages on or wraps that go up to the point of the knuckles, and then the knuckles are exposed. That it is a brutal, brutal, brutal sport. Again, I know, again, call me what you will, but I just cannot get my head around that fighting. I think it's, look, again, credit to the fighters. We just had our own Rowdy Beck Rawlings. She's the world champion and doing great things, and she sort of found her niche, which is great. She tried UFC, sort of hit and miss at UFC. Also tried boxing, couldn't get a win in the boxing, but this seems to be her niche, and it does probably suit her because she's a rough and tough girl, isn't she? But just to see the state of the fighters after the fights, or most of the fights, just some of the injuries they sustain, the amount of blood that's involved. Hey, look, end of the day, if it makes money, well, you know, I'm sure there's always going to be an audience there that wants it. Conor McGregor's obviously the main man in the world scene. You know, he's got partners and stuff, but he's the face of it. But hey, I love, or used to love, throwing down the ring. Never liked the fight outside the ring, but inside the ring, get through the ropes. I used to love to punch on as much as anyone. But I cannot get my head around about getting into, is it a ring? It's not an octagon, is it? What is it? It's a circle, I think, isn't it? Whatever it is. To get in there with no protection on whatsoever and punch the living shit out of each other. Yeah, I just can't see it. But good luck to Anthony doing that, because I'm not sure. Well, good luck getting it past the New South Wales Combat Board, although they have got it past 2, so maybe the fact that it's there, they won't have too much of a problem. But is it something he wants? Especially, and again, I'm surprised they've got it through, because Australia, of course, is super woke these days. So I'm surprised. But yeah, would you go see it? Would you like to see it? Look, end of the day, I think it'll be big, but how big is it going to be? Do we? Okay, well, there's someone's siren going off, so apologies if you hear that. Hey, it wasn't us. It's just near us, but it wasn't us. Someone's ute. But yeah, look, what do you think about it? I for one, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to pause this for a sec, and then we will resume in a second once this peanut turns off his car. All right, well, we're back. That was just a brief few seconds there. So anyway, yeah, where was I? The bare knuckle. Yeah. So anyway, good luck to him. You just got to think what follows. We've already had the slapping business as well. That's one thing I just think is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. That's not fighting, of course. That is just stupidity. And I'm not sure whether I respect the people that do it, to be honest. Are they just peanuts? Are they idiots? I don't know. What do you guys think? But to stand up there and take turns slapping. Now, my question is, I've never watched it. Who do they decide slaps first? Because you'd think the first guy or girl would have the advantage, wouldn't you? Because they could potentially just get a free hit and knock out their opponents. I don't know. But yeah, definitely not for me. But good luck to Anthony. It's another venture, and I think he's on the right path, because as much as I don't like it and won't watch it, there are going to be a large element of people out there that are going to take note. And I think in that event in America, they actually got like 15,000 people or something there. So obviously there's a market for it, and Conor McGregor's probably the man to be in charge the face of it internationally, and Anthony Mundine is a good guy to have it in Australia. So anyway, maybe him and Danny Green might actually get it on for that third fight. Bare knuckle, who knows? Geez, that'd be a sight to see, wouldn't it? So enough of that. But again, good luck to all concerned down there for that charity event. It's for a great cause. So if you're down Tasmania way, well, make sure you go and check it out. Again, I can't believe I didn't take notice of the date. But either way, check it out. It's on all the socials. Now, one other thing I did see yesterday on, I think, one of the better pages or boxing pages on Facebook here in Australia is the Aussie Boxing The Truth. I like it. I just sort of scroll through it and just have a look at different things. And someone put up something yesterday that did take, did get my attention. Normally I just scroll past it and read a few of the comments and that sort of stuff, and maybe even just get a few topics even for here. And one of them was yesterday because someone put up a post about the heavyweights, the biggest punches in heavyweight history, and they had a photo of George Foreman, Mike Tyson, Sonny Liston and Ernie Shavers, and they said, I think it was not who the better fighter was, who's the biggest puncher. What a little round robin that would be. Sonny Liston, George Foreman, Mike Tyson, Ernie Shavers. 4 of the biggest punchers, well, obviously the biggest punchers of all time in the heavyweight division. So I think there's a big difference about who punches the hardest compared to who would actually win the fight. So I think if they were all to have a little round robin, I think that Mike Tyson would be the one that would, come here man, this way, would be the one who would come out victorious. I think George Foreman would probably be the one that would probably give him the best fight, although if Ernie Shavers landed one, then it could be curtains, because the amount of people he either knocked down or knocked out the list was long. But if you look at all of them, I mean, the different types of punches as well. You've got, well, let's start with, say, Sonny Liston. We'll start with Sonny Liston. Sonny is universally sort of ranked as one of the best of all time. I never saw it that way. I thought apart from Sonny Liston, he never fought anybody of note. All right, so that's the first one. So come at me, Sonny Liston fans, I'm prepared for it. But he was sort of slow. He had a really good jab, but apart from that, he was slow. He was cumbersome, slow with his hands, slow with his feet. So I just don't think he would have the ability to go with someone like Mike Tyson. I think Mike Tyson would be slipping inside and under and just be way too fast for him. This is peak Mike Tyson I'm talking about as well. I think that George Foreman, I think it could almost be a repeat of the Joe Frazier fight. I think him standing in front of George Foreman with those big uppercuts and hooks, I think would take him out. And Ernie Shavers, that's probably a nice even fight, I would think. I'd still think that Ernie Shavers might even have enough to get over Sonny Liston, but just so I keep some of the Sonny Liston fans happy, let's just say Sonny Liston beats Ernie Shavers. George Foreman, I think, again, he would beat Sonny. The Ernie Shavers fight with George Foreman would be interesting because George does tend to stand, or did tend to stand there like a big statue and would be open for the punches. Did have a pretty good chin though, George, so maybe I'm thinking he could withstand those punches from Ernie Shavers, which he would wear at some stage, and maybe have enough to get over Ernie Shavers. But I wouldn't just write that one down for George against Ernie, because styles make fights, as they say, and Ernie would be a chance in that. But I think against Mike Tyson, I think Tyson's speed, and again, the coming up from down low and from different angles, and being a very fast heavyweight back in his day, I think Mike Tyson would beat George. I don't think he would stop George. I think he would win on points. But again, it also poses the question, Mike did gas in fights and George was always there, so you never know. So all of those, I would think that Mike Tyson is the better fighter out of all those guys, but punch for punch, I'm going to put my money on Ernie Shavers as being the biggest puncher, because someone like George Foreman, he was sort of a clubbing fighter as well. You know, again, slow, but he would just, it's not this devastating one punch power. It would just be a series of clubbing punches that would get you out of there. Mike Tyson, I think, could punch. He did have one punch knockout power and the speed to go with it. But I just think, yeah, punch for punch, I would put my money on Ernie Shavers. So I was going to rate them out of actual fighters. I would say Tyson, Foreman, Shavers, Liston. And I can hear everyone that are Sonny Liston fans out there banging their heads on the phone at the moment, thinking, what drugs is this guy having Ernie Shavers over Sonny Liston? I'm just saying. And then as far as punches, I would have Ernie Shavers at number 1. I would have Foreman at number 2. I'd have Tyson at number 3, Sonny Liston at number 4. So haven't been very friendly to the Sonny Liston fans out there this morning, but anyway, you got to call it as you said. I just didn't see him as a great fighter. I'm sorry, guys. Don't get me started on some of those old time fighters. My thoughts with them. I mean, at the time they were considered great, and that's awesome. but you've got to rate them at some stage, and that's where I rate Sunny Liston anyway. So guys, have a think about that. Put in the chat as always your thoughts. Have a great Saturday. It's going to be warm. Stay inside, go for a swim, whatever it's going to be. Make sure you put a hat on. We'll catch you tomorrow.